All right, let's see the patch notes.
Hey everybody, Riot Mort here, and we are here with the first patch of Inkborn Fables, patch 14.7 rundown.
Wow.
So we had a pretty good launch. We're pretty happy with the state of things, but the set's definitely not perfect. There are definitely things we can change, and so there's going to be it's a pretty big patch actually. There's a lot of like small system changes and things like that. So rather than beat around the bush, let's just jump right in and see what we have in store.
All right.
All right, first up.
This
surprise.
change.
One of the things we thought that was kind of annoying was that if you ever got the Wandering Trainer portal, you couldn't get the Wandering Trainer augment. And we were like, that's kind of less fun. And so we were talking about it, and we were like, what if instead of one of them being dummies, they were sentinels? And Kent was like, I'm down, and Kent made it happen, and it was great. So there's 2 new portals this time, replacing Wandering Trainers is now
2
replaced
portals
with Trainer Sentinels. And Wandering Vendors is replaced with Vendor Sentinels. And instead of a dummy, you get a Sentinel. They have, they can attack. They have a spell that's just one really hard attack. But it's kind of cool because they can benefit from their traits. Like you see the Sniper one here, and the Sniper Sentinel will have +1 range, and it's pretty fun. And that allows you to get the Wandering Trainer
I see.
with the Trainer Sentinel portal, which is pretty fun.
Wait, you couldn't get escort quests before in Wandering Trainer? I didn't know that. This is really fun change. I think stuff like this is what makes TFT really fun and unique. It's just a lot of like hilarious stuff. And I'm a big fan of it. If it ends up being like a ridiculous, like the Sentinels are way too strong, that'd be pretty funny, but probably not that fun. So they might have to tone it down, but we'll see. I mean, I'm a fan of it.
So
who doesn't like more fun stuff like this?
They're pretty neat. Give them a try. It allows for escort quest also to be offered as well. So yeah, new portals, sweet. All right, in the loot system, the prismatic orbs have landed pretty well so far. Just trying to get the balance 100% right here. So in stage 2, the masterwork upgrade was a little too good.
Yeah.
So that can no longer drop from a stage 2 prismatic orb.
Okay.
And in the stage 3 prismatic orb, it used to drop with 5 gold. Now it just drops by itself. Still one of the strongest drops you can get, but should make it more in line with everything else in the orb.
Man, Masterwork Upgrade was really OP if you were playing like a reroll comp that used like a really core item. Like at first people were doing things like Rage Blade on Bard, and now they recognize that Stoneplate is also really OP as well. And so this thing in general was way too strong. And other people would be like, well, you just get like a bunch of 4 costs and stuff like that. I'm like, okay. Some people got like straight up like a radiant item, and I got like nothing. So yeah.
Stage 2 prismatic orb that drops 2 component anvils plus 3G gets 1 more gold. Woohoo! So, all right, 3-star 4 costs. 3-star 4 costs are something we definitely want to be strong. Not necessarily 100% win rate, but across the board, they were just a little lower than we wanted them to.
What about 2-star 4 costs?
So for those who don't know, 3-star 4 costs actually have a flat bonus 500 health on top of everything else. But if you didn't know that, now they have 1,000.
They'll work into it
so
soon
you
enough.
just get a free 1,000 health if you 3-star your 4 cost, which is pretty cool. So 3-star 4 cost should generally be a little bit stronger this patch.
Okay.
Nothing too crazy.
Sure, that makes sense.
And then Hyperroll. Hyperroll got a bit of an adjustment. Hyperroll was a little bit too much of, go to 9, use all that gold, and hit a 3-star 4 cost. So we're changing it a little bit. There'll be one more combat.
The Hyperroll adjustment.
So if you want to play a 3-cost reroll, that should help that be viable. Stage 7 gold gets nerfed a little bit because there's an extra round. And then stage 8 and 9 gold get hit pretty hard. Again, 3-star 4 cost was just a little too common. Actually, it was a lot too common. So
I had no
gold
idea.
goes down from 1911-11 to 15-7-7 and 14-11-11 to 15-7-7, although that 15 should be green, but you get the idea. So a little less gold in the end game of Hyperroll should open up more options than just 3-star 4 cost.
Okay, I don't really know anything about Hyperroll, but I can trust Mortdog. Mortdog actually, if you guys didn't know, climbs to the top rank of Hyperroll every single set. Probably because it's just easier to squeeze in Hyperroll games, and also helps them get a good beat of like live without having to grind ranked. So, Hyperroll I think is a really good way for people to learn. In case you're still like getting your first games of the set, you're like, okay, finally time to learn. I recommend playing Hyperroll, and apparently before the next patch, it's roll for 3-star 4 cost. So, that's the meta.
Finally, encounters. This should be some good news for people. The following encounters will be seen less often.
No!
Set Carousel. Bard opening,
No.
Lilia opening, Cho'Gath
Ah.
slot trade, and Rakan recombobulate. These were all weighted a little higher. In some cases set a lot higher. Those are now set to normal numbers. Should be
No,
fine.
I dislike.
Even when
Dislike.
they
Worst
do
change
show
of the
up,
patch.
we lowered the amount of time carousel encounters like Set, Sivir, and Tristana take.
Do you think, hello, Mortdog, do you think I play TFT to try and like what else am I supposed to do with my time? I think you think I play TFT trying to get out of the game as fast as I can. I want to stay in it. Where's my immersion? If anything, it should be like we should lean into it. Make the set carousel twice as long and make us do little workout mini games. I don't want to deal with all this. Lower the amount of time playing the game. I want the game to be more fun with all these encounters. Also, actually, I would say that the recombobulate one is good, but I kind of like some of these other openers though. What was the Lilia one? Is that the one that rearranges augments? Make us all squat IRL. Yeah, I mean, if you guys don't know, I actually do a squat every single time, or set of squats every single time this carousel comes up, and I was keeping track of it. How else am I supposed to get my reps and play TFT at the same time?
Sweet. Like if you've been watching my stream all weekend, we have not seen Set all weekend. It's been kind of nice. Aatrox, the one that gives gold XP health. We've nerfed the gold just a little bit from 10 to 8. The Alune one that used to buff 2, 3, or 4 cost units of your choice. The 2 cost part got nerfed,
this was good. This was good.
and the 4 cost part got buffed. So it should be a little more tight of a choice and not necessarily just grats on the 2 cost players.
Yeah, so this was a encounter that said your 2 costs could get buffed by this much, your 3 costs can get buffed by like 150 and 15, and your 4 costs can get buffed by 110. But it's always like one of those things where it just felt really bad because you were just kind of like really out of luck for a while. And the 2 costs were like way too good to help you get stronger, so they're just adjusting a little bit. That makes sense. Also, this Aatrox gold thing makes sense as well. If you want to stay in the game, why do you bot 4 so often?
The Aurelia one that lets everyone run on the carousel for free. We upped the delay before everyone is free to give you a little bit more time to think about what you're trying to pick and go after.
Thank you.
So that one will be
I need
there.
time. That's for me. That
Kench,
changes for me.
Component. Gold or component. Used to be 10 gold. Is now 8 gold. The Teemo win or lose prediction.
Oh.
Predict win correctly. 14 gold was a big swing.
Yes.
That's been nerfed to 10 gold.
Good.
Wukong 6 radiant items now excludes Rascal Gloves.
Thank God.
And then set squatting, you're not going to be quite as big anymore.
What is this?
Instead of 140% bigger, it's just 70% bigger.
This is the worst patch of all time. Why fix what's not broken?
So maybe not quite insane. So set basically got triple nerfed here. So if you've been complaining about the set encounter, we got you. We got you.
No. No one asked for this, man. No one asked for this.
On the trait side, Ultrist, a little bit too good of a splash.
Balance thrashing.
A little bit. Take a drink. Also, that should be red. Man, I'm bad at that.
Yeah, this is a nerf,
Ultrist
not a buff.
is getting nerfed at 3 and 4.
Makes sense.
So less armor and MR.
Too good.
Arcanist is getting buffed at 4 and 6.
Makes sense.
5 AP.
They're so bad.
Small buff. Artist can now copy non-champions quicker.
What?
Your move, Leduc. Fortune.
Wait. What does that mean? I haven't watched. Oh, the anvils. Oh, I see.
So 7 Fortune is a very powerful trait that you can get pretty early. It kind of feeds itself into 9 Fortune a little too easily, though. And it was too much of an easy win for how easy it was to hit on like wandering trainer portals. So the 7-piece luck bonus has been nerfed from 30 to 25, which means it shouldn't self-feed itself over and over. The 7 fortune orbs have also been lowered their value a little bit. And then there was a cash out that would give you a set 2 plus 2 dummies with 2 radiant warmogs. We've also added a radiant bloodthirster to that cash out. So
wait, that's so funny. I've never seen this cash out. There's a cash out that gives you a set plus like a bunch of things for him to squat. That's funny. I that's actually a great cash out reward. I like it. I think they did a really good job with some of these cash outs, making them super fun. Yeah, I think they're very creative with this kind of stuff. It's funny.
on that set, and he'll be lifting and cranking and doing good stuff.
I've never hit that.
Cool. Ghostly. Ghostly took off about day 6 of the patch. Definitely freaked out a lot of people in like EU, and is definitely taken off as one of the easier to play comps.
In
the trait
EU?
is being nerfed.
Oh,
it's going
God.
down from 12, 20, 35 to 10, 6, 32 at 4, 6, and 8 respectively.
Nice.
8 gets the smallest nerf. We do want 8 to be like, sweet, you hit 8 Ghostly.
Yeah, 8
you
Ghostly
win,
should feel good.
or at least you do well. But 4 and 6 getting hit pretty hard should hurt them in the mid.
20 is 20 to 16 is a lot. 'Cause you're like, okay, it's like 4%. Like, what a big deal. But remember, it's per Spectre per Ghostly unit. So it's like, it's a lot times. It's like times the Spectres, number of Spectres times the number of Ghostlies. That's a huge nerf. You have to. So like, yeah. It's justified. The one thing I will say about Ghostly is that because it's a really strong vertical, it also has given a lot of life to certain carries. If you look at it, like some of our comps at TFT Academy, like how many comps get enabled by Ghostly? 1, 2, what is this? Oh, Duelist. 3, 4, Ghostly Kindred, right? 5, and there's a couple of others that we actually haven't shown here, but like it does enable like a lot of cool carries. Even Ash is playable as well, so 6. And so that's one thing that's kind of been a silver lining of Ghostly, because how versatile and how strong it can be. It's really good for a lot of that some of the carries that can play.
Heavenly, this trait was really reliant on Wukong, and frankly, probably still will be. But that Wukong attack speed bonus was pretty insane.
Yes,
that
that's
gets
way too
nerfed a bit.
good.
But the emblem, which was like fake, ooh wow, 4% Omnivamp has now been doubled, so that should help.
That's a lot.
And then finally Reaper,
because this 6% it grows based off how many Heavenly you have, so this can get to like 15% or something like that at vertical Heavenly. That's a lot for your whole team. I mean, it's not like 7 faded. 7 faded Omnivamp on set is 15 times 3, so that's 45%. But maybe he'll get there.
A lot of success with like Yone builds and things like that. So Reaper gets its 4 bleed nerfed a small amount.
Well, they're nerfing Yone.
Yone is going to be one of the better comps this patch. We'll see.
We'll see.
All right, Ink Shadow.
Oh
this is
my
probably
God.
one of the more major changes, but the big thing here is Ink Shadow
So much green.
7 goes from 10% damage amp and reduction to 20%.
Oh.
So Ink Shadow 7 should be a lot better from what we've tested on PvE. It seems a lot better.
Yeah.
And in addition, Ink Shadow items are going to be better as well. Pretty much all of them but one needed some small buffs, even at like 3 Ink Shadow. This might surprise some people who are like, Bombardment was great, or good, they'll be even better.
So I don't know if you guys know this, but according to a China DPS calculator, Tattoo of Vitality is actually is the best DPS dealing with best DPS one. And if you kind of go by like the percentage of it being buffed, it's pretty hefty buff. So we'll see how this ends up
they're all getting some
doing.
of their base stats increased. Bombardment 5% more AD and AS. Tattoo of Force 5 more armor and MR. Fury 5% more AS. Tattoo of Toxin goes up from 33% to 44%.
Oh my God.
Bigger buffs.
Oh God. This just means, so the thing is, okay, so what this means is that Ink Shadow openers are going to be silly. Like, yes, a lot of people are going to be talking about like, okay, 7 Ink Shadow is good, but now what this means is like you should on the patch launch, you should be holding every Ink Shadow unit you possibly can, because now you actually have like a really good item to potentially play around and just win tempo. And you guys know what happens when you're like up a full item over somebody that isn't, and you have like it's able to snowball that tempo and really keep you ahead. So I think Ink Shadow is going to turn into like an insane opener again.
Vitality gets its HP and damage buffed as well, so those should all be better. And then Story Weaver. There's a lot of text here, but let me break it down to the short version is Blue Kale good.
Okay.
Kale 3 worse.
Okay.
That's the short version.
Kale
the
3?
longer version is the blue version now works properly and does big damage.
Okay.
The 5-piece now gives it 50% more spell damage, so that hits a lot harder.
Okay, so what Mortdog's talking about, for people who didn't know, is that when you played 5 Story Weaver, you get another choice of red, blue, green, right? sorry, the red blue option. And then the blue option just didn't work a lot of the time. Or actually, was it the entire time? I don't know. I remember someone saying like, just don't pick it because it doesn't work. So now apparently it works, and in addition to it, now it hits an even bigger area effect. So we'll see.
The 7-piece also gives 20% damage.
Or rather, it hits more harder.
So in our
harder.
testing, we found that red and blue are now pretty equal, actually. Blue really good at taking down strong frontliners. Red can ramp up and do more DPS. And then the 3-piece red bonus, the attack speed bonus, has been nerfed from 15 to 12.
Okay.
The green KL3 has also been nerfed.
I called this one for a while. This needs to happen.
It won't replace Last Whisper and Static Shiv for you anymore.
Yes.
It'll still be 20%, but it has been nerfed.
That is big.
3-story Weaver Kale on hit damage goes down.
Okay.
3-story Weaver Kale ability goes down.
Okay.
So again, 3-story Weaver kind of getting nerfed. It's just such a good early game.
Yep.
And then 5 and 7 specifically nerfed only on stage 4. That's it. Stage 5 and 6 they'll be fine. Stage 2 and 3 no change. Just stage 4 small nerf to 5 and 7. So
I mean, that's a big deal for people who want a fast 9 off of the 5 and 7-story Weaver. But this is good. I mean, Story Weaver still is too good. But I think it's been more manageable because I think a lot of people started optimizing more the meta. Story Weaver was so dominant because of how easy it was to play at the very beginning of the set. And I think now, a week and a half later, I think it's actually not as big of a deal as it is before, but it's still too strong for sure.
Like I said, TLDR, blue Kale playable, little worse at 3. There you go. All right, on the champion side, Kha'Zix reroll, not really a thing.
Nope.
When you saw Reaper get nerfed a bit as well, but Kha'Zix we want to be better early game choice. So he gets some more ability AD ratio into his ability.
That's pretty good.
Kobuko, fun champion, kind of underperforming.
Kind of.
Will now hit harder.
Kind of. Oh, I was like, I know. The caveat is, I know that he's a fortune unit. I'm going to scroll real far down. We're going to sort by average placements. We're going to go all the way. 4.5, 4.6, 4.7, 4.8, 5.0. Gap, 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 and then Kabuko. If you're measuring by tenths of placements, this guy... he is single-handedly one of the worst average placements for a unit I have ever seen in TFT. Your average placement for having Kabuko is so bad. I know part of it is fortune. I know. It's just... when Mortdog said... What did he say? What did he say?
All right, on the champion side, Kha'Zix reroll.
Oh, no.
Kobuko, fun champion.
What did he say?
Kind of underperforming.
Yep.
Hit harder based on his max HP.
Kind of
underperforming. Both
underperforming.
him and his hero augment better. Cool. Kog'Maw.
Anyways, this is a much needed buff. And the thing is, you have to be careful with how much you buff it in general, because its general use means that his hero augment might be way too good. So we'll see. I'm not convinced. And also, it might be too good for fortune. You have to remember that it's also like, remember how good Set was? Like in Heartsteel, you don't want to make too much of the. Obviously, it's a 3 cost versus 1 cost, so it's different. But yeah, there's a lot of drawbacks to making it too good. So, yeah.
We're actually pretty fine with his damage, but man, he can get to your backline quick, right? Blue buff Shojin, and he's hitting your backliners 12 seconds into a fight. We are lowering how many ability casts he have to, or raising it, I suppose, so that it's going to take him longer to hit that backline. He's going to be stuck on front line a little longer before he gets.
That's a big deal.
On range, but the damage isn't changed, so hopefully Kog'Maw reroll should be viable but less frustrating. Sivir, the ability lasts a little less time. This is meant to be a bit of a nerf to Storyweaver and Trickshot. Sivir should be okay. It still lasts a decent amount, so should be fine.
Yeah.
And then Yasuo. Whew. Yasuo the 1 cost. Give him 3 gargoyles and watch him tank.
What is this?
Because his ability scaling off armor and MR was a choice. So that's getting hit pretty hard here. So like an itemless Yasuo, not going to be hit too hard.
Yeah.
But he won't be so insane with multiple gargoyles. So that armor and MR are going to go down. Yasuo shouldn't be better than Thresh now, is the hope. But still should be good in the early game with like a single gargoyle, stuff like that.
Yeah, I mean Yasuo is like way too good. There is legitimately a lot of conversations at high elo whether or not Yasuo 2 or Thresh 2 is better. Now it shouldn't be a question. Thresh 2 should be better, assuming they haven't nerfed him in follow pages. Also, like the problem with Yasuo was that he also would be very warping in the sense that if you couldn't kill him, the whole team would like 6-0 you, 5-0 you, and it was way too strong of a stat check. This Kog'Maw thing's a big change. The server, I don't think the server's like that big of a deal, quite honestly. But maybe I'm misunderstanding or misevaluating it. I feel like Sivir is more of a trait bot. It's probably, if anything, this makes it worse for Sivir to be holding items, but yeah, that's probably about
There
it.
you go. Kindred just gets buffed again. Reaper got nerfed, but Kindred gets buffed.
Oh
Should
man,
help Dryad should
after
help
the
Phase
news,
play something other than Aphelios. If you want to play Kindred, so pretty sizable buff there.
Cool. This is a very big buff because of how often Kindred's casting, and also because Kindred scales as a Reaper, and Reaper crits, it's a multiplier on top of it. And also because Kindred scales really well with flat stats, and because Dryad helps scales as well. So it's like there's a lot of different scaling kind of built into Kindred. This can be really, really scary.
Lux, same thing. Arcanist kind of suffering. Porcelain kind of suffering. So small buff for Lux's spell. Should hit harder. Kiana, more ability AD ratio.
Twin Terror Lux is already like solid, so now this has to be the way you play Twin Terror. It has to be around Lux.
Cool. Kiana hits a little harder. Something heavenly 3 buffs something. Go count buffs. Do what you got to do. Shen 3 was nutty. I really don't know why this spiked so hard. Honestly, Shen 3 will still be nutty, but going from 50 to 90 damage reduction that scales off AP was insane. So Shen 3 getting hit.
Yeah.
Going down.
Shen 3 is really
and
good.
This change is actually meant to buff his hero augment. This will make his hero
augment
a little nervous about that. We'll see. But Shen is no longer monolocked if he uses all 3 empowered attacks before his ability duration expires.
Wow.
Meaning, if you're sitting in the back line with that augment and you're going 1, 2, 3, but 4 seconds haven't passed, you can get back to generating mana. And so that Shen will be able to do that spell more often. That should buff the hero augment. It's meant to be a quality of life change for the hero augment for Shen.
You guys, what did we talk about last time we did patch notes? Green number is like, okay, real stuff. Green sentence. Oh my God. When there's a green sentence, that's when some real shit happens. Oh man. What happens when you go like double Rage Blade on Shen now and he's no longer mana locked? Oh man. Yeah, this is like green paragraph. It's not even like green sentence. It's green paragraph. It's 3 lines. Oh shit. This sounds potentially really, really good. Yeah, Shojin Rage Blade, double Rage Blade. We'll see, right? We'll see.
So, cool.
Green novel, yeah.
Bard, definitely the low elo stomper for sure. First week he dominated.
What did he say?
For Shen. So, cool.
Bard is the what?
Bard, definitely the low elo stomper for sure.
Oh!
First week he
How many of you have complained about Bard in the past week? Oh man, what Mortdog just called you out in the patch notes. And he didn't even blink. He just straight up moved past it.
Dominated pretty hard. If you saw a Ginsu's Gunblade Bard 3, you had to immediately go to Twitter and tag me about it. So I just got the tags. Bard is getting his attack
low
lowered,
elo,
so he'll be weaker for sure. We'll see if he can survive. My worry is he's a little too weak now. We'll see. But I definitely don't expect Bard to be S tier. That's for sure.
Yeah.
Diana gets a buff. Diana's spell takes a long time to cast. We want her to be an effective frontliner, so 20 off her spell. Cool.
Pretty big deal. That's a pretty big deal because Diana... Well, okay, Diana's kind of a weird champion. She takes more damage from melee champions and range units because when she casts, things outside of her hex range deal less damage to her. But when there's a problem on PB where she was too good, she was doing too much damage, and when she was casting, she ended up like casting it again and basically taking like no damage from the outside. So this is potentially a pretty big deal.
Drupal buffed now, so if you're keeping score and you like to count buffs, Heavenly is officially S++ tier. Soraka doing a tiny bit more damage.
Counting the buffs.
Thresh, the faded armor and MR.
Wait a second. Do we need to buff Soraka? Isn't Soraka utility kind of outrageous? They like, first of all, her traits are godlike for flex. Second of all, she's actually like a really good item holder for a lot of different things, like Morello. And third, her mana reave is actually kind of nuts. I actually don't think she needs a buff here. I'm actually having trouble pegging how strong it is because I don't understand. I think the secondary damage portion versus the primary. I always thought it was just one giant AoE thing and it raves, but maybe I'm misunderstanding it. I will say they did nerf altruists, so they did. So it's like, you know, buff and a nerf to Soraka, but yeah, I don't know if she needed it. I think she still would have been played even without it. So this could make like Soraka really good. I don't know if this is enough to make me want to play Soraka out of a box, but we'll see. I think it's unnecessary. Yeah. I don't know if it'll push her to be like way too good, but yeah, we'll see.
MR bonus, definitely one of the best choices. Giving your whole team, 7 faded, you were getting 60 armor and MR. That gets nerfed.
Okay.
And then Thresh had this really gross thing where it's like his bonus gives him armor and MR, and
Yep.
then he shares that armor and MR with
Yep.
somebody else, and it just cycled.
And then he casts
so his
again.
ability is going
Yep.
to share less of his armor and MR. So
Wow.
Thresh getting nerfed as well. Our hope is that maybe other faded choices than Thresh Set and Thresh Yasuo will be choosable. That's the hope.
Okay, so this is a really big nerf as well. And they're not changing Fate itself, so I am curious to see like how strong this is. But they just said that they wanted you to itemize Thresh instead of Yasuo, but then they nerfed Thresh, so maybe we stay on Yasuo anyways. I don't know. This is interesting. But this is a good nerf.
So, but Thresh should still be strong. Tristana gets an AD ability buff.
Whoa.
My read is that duelists are going to be very strong. Volibear, Tristana, reroll, duelist.
Wait, what? Whoa! Isn't duelist considered S tier by some players? Let me see. I think some people. Let me look at the Sologo song tier list. Duelists. Oh, he put it at the top of tier 2. I mean, he put Fine Vintage Duelist in S tier, but that doesn't really count. Trash to Treasure Duelist, Clement Chu. But Duelist is already borderline here. We have it like here at the top of A tier as well. I mean, some people put it at the bottom of S tier, but then there's just too many comps in S tier, so... Okay. I feel like if it's around that territory, like high tier 2, high A tier, it doesn't need to get buffed, so this is surprising. You know what? Actually, you know what? This is also a nerf to Fortune players because a lot of Fortune players just really don't understand how good sometimes Tristana can be. You're like, okay, I'm playing a 1-star Tristana. There's no way I win this fight. And then this Tristana just randomly like jumps to the backline and instantly snipes their carry. And then you like 3v1 like a Kabuko one, a Tristana one, and a Timo one onto their 2-star like front line. And then you just like win somehow. So if anything, this is actually a buff and a nerf. It's a buff and a nerf. It's a buff to duelists. It's a nerf to anyone that's playing Fortune Stage 2.
Expect to be very good. So, Tristana, enjoy your buff. 4 costs. 4 costs definitely seem like the area that was suffering the most. So Ashe gets a 5 AD buff.
Hey, it's big.
My read is it'll help her, but still not going to be like S tier. Kaisa gets a 5 AD buff. This one's scary, especially with the Ink Shadow stuff.
Yeah.
I expect Kaisa to be very good next patch.
Yeah.
Morgana gets a small...
Wait. Do you guys see Mortdog's face when he said, I expect Kaisa to be really good next patch?
4 costs. 4 costs definitely seem like the area that was suffering the most.
Wait till he says
Ashe
Kaisa again. He like looks up and he looks really
My
scared.
read is it'll help her, but still not going to be like S tier. Kaisa gets a 5 AD buff. This one's scary, especially with the Ink Shadow stuff. I expect Kaisa to be very good next patch. Morgana gets a small buff. Should help a bit. Kind of makes up for Ghostly and lets Morgana be played.
This is a really big war patch. Isn't this wait, is this, let me read her ability real quick. Morgana does, is it total damage being split across? Okay. It's a pretty sizable buff.
Hui, definitely one of the best endgame champions, gets a 10% damage nerf and a 20% healing nerf. And the
Wow.
dirty secret is he's probably still very good.
Yeah.
We didn't want to over nerf in one swing. This is a big nerf to Hui,
That is a big nerf.
but hopefully it makes Hui not necessarily the always endgame champion. And then Xayah and Rakan. Xayah gets 5 more AD.
Oh,
Some of you might be
man.
going, hey, that's not going to be enough to buff her. And you might be right. We'll see. There's also a bug fix with her that will help her as well.
Wait.
But we definitely want Xayah to be sort of the capstone AD trick shot build.
There's a green sentence that's not being shown. Oh, no. Oh, boy. Kaisa and Xayah as trick shots with the Ink Shadow buffs. That's going to be nuts. That's going to be nuts.
We'll see if she does. She can do a lot of damage now, and the bug fix does.
Shown later. Spoiler alert.
All right. Small thing here, but champs have had their classes changed.
Okay.
What this really affects is lucky gloves and recommended items.
Okay.
So Aphelios goes from attack caster to attack carry.
All right.
Azir, Hui, Janna, Lissandra, Lux, and Zyra go from magic caster to magic caster high mana. Basically, the only difference
Can't get
here
blue
is
buff.
no blue buff in their lucky gloves. It'll be Shojin, so that should help. Kindred goes from magic carry to magic caster.
Okay.
Karma, that means they get the blue buff.
Yeah.
And then Yone goes to attack fighter. So again, small recommendations. Mostly affects their lucky gloves output. Cool.
I feel like we should just call them warriors because that's what we call it in TFT, but they're going to keep calling them fighters. Who calls it fighters? Attack fighters. You know, do you also know the other classification? Reaper. They call them like a magic reaper when they're like an AP JG Hodge carry.
Items. Gargoyle Stoneplate has become the de facto build item, probably the most built item in the game right now. Compared to, Gargoyle, or excuse me, to Bramble and Dragonclaw, just not good enough.
Interesting
Base
turn of
armor
events.
and MR is being lowered by 5.
Makes
Hextech
sense.
Gunblade, little too much healing from that item.
Wait, I like that
It's
though.
going to go from 22% to 20%.
No.
Ionic Spark loses 50 health, very good item. Morellonomicon loses 5% attack speed. And then Sterix Gauge, this should be green. I'm just red-green colorblind. Sterix Gauge is getting buffed
Ooh.
to 25% HP gain. That
Any
item should
gauge
be
lovers?
on the support side,
You got
Aegis of
buff.
the Legion, man, if you got 2 or 3 of these things, you pretty much won the game. It was like Kent snuck in the rushdown augment. 90% attack speed was kind of bonkers. So the attack speed from Aegis of the Legion
Aegis is way too
being
good.
nerfed to 25%. And then Zerat Portal is also being nerfed. The attack speed goes down. The
Oh
armor
no,
bar
the
goes
fine
up,
vintage nerf.
and then no longer scales base AD with stage. Instead, uses star level.
No.
Now stars up to 2-star on stage 4 and 3-star on stage 5+. And you can see here the AD values.
Oh, instead it's star level. I get it.
To 80, 80,
I see,
120,
I see.
180.
Oh wait, no, it is ultimately a change in terms of how it's damaged. Wow, wait a second. It had 220. ZZ Ross had 225 AD on stage. What? What the heck? Oh man, no wonder. So obviously this is like in response to Fine Vintage, which makes sense. I think Fine Vintage is really cool, and I don't want it to go away. And I do think that this is way too oppressive. Like, I don't know if you have guys have gone up against like 5 ZZ Rots in the late game with a bunch of Aegis, stuff like that. Way too good. It is fun. I'm okay with losing it to it for now, but I could see it being a world where like 3 months from now, I'm gonna wish it didn't get to this point. I could see this being nerfed even further. The best slams, Morello, Spark, Stoneplate got nerfed. That makes sense. Gunblade getting nerfed is a little sad. I like when the item is good because it makes your swords and rods, when you get too much of it from the other side. Let's say you're playing AP and you get too many swords. You always think like, oh, like Shojin Gunblade is like not bad because it's like anchored by how like good Gunblade is. And I know it's like 2%, so it's like not that. It's not. It doesn't mean you can't build it. It's just like I just like when it's good because it helps you bridge the other side. You're playing an AD comp. What am I gonna do with all these rods? You can just make Gunblade and things like that. Morello nerf is actually really good because in general, I think there's been just like a stat inflation on items. Like a lot of items now give you like 4 stats. Gives you like base AP, base like Morello gives you base AP, base health, and then like attack speed and anti-heal. And then they just gave you like more AP on top of that, just stuff like that. So I think just like bringing it down a little bit makes sense.
Now you look at these changes; these will make the heavenly fine vintage comp worse, it won't be so much of an easy win. But we don't want to eliminate the comp. We actually like that this comp exists. It's a very fun comp.
Good.
We're hoping these are enough to keep it in the meta but not ruin it. We'll just go from there. But the Zerat portals were kind of needed here.
Good stuff.
Radiant items also got a pass.
Oh.
Spark loses some health and zap damage.
Yeah, that item's so
Crest
OP.
of Cinders loses some burn damage.
That item was OP.
Gargoyle Stoneplate loses some flat armor and MR.
Yeah, there you go.
Fists of Fairness gets some AD and AP and some crit chance. That should make that item a lot better.
Oh, what?
Legacy of the Colossus gains more damage reduction and empowered damage reduction. More Morellonomicon also goes down to a 2% burn. Spear of Harana gains 5 AD and AP as well as 5
20 mana per auto.
And then Steric's Mega Shield gains some HP and some AD. So again, trying to balance the Radiant items a little better.
Yeah.
So that things like Morellonomicon aren't just like the insta-picks that they were before.
The biggest change is this crit chance. So like if you're playing like a Yone or a Kindred and or even a Kayn and you hit Fist of, or the opposite, if you hit Fist of Fairness in your opener for some reason, you can always like lean into like those kinds of Reapers. This crit chance buff is a huge deal. So that's the biggest thing for me. But all these are justified. These are 4 of the best, for sure. So yeah, this makes sense.
Cool. And then we have augments. Fine Vintage gets nerfed in that it no longer counts PvE rounds, so you don't have the weird APM of trying to slam items as fast as you can. Other than that, still the same augment.
Oh, wait. That's a pretty big... That's a really big nerf. Red sentence. Oh, God.
Buffed to 40% gold drop chance. Nerf. Cool.
For people who don't know what we're talking about here, we basically PvE rounds would count, and so what you had to do was kill the PvE monsters as fast as you can, and build the item on your bench and sell it as fast as you can before the round ended, so it can count like 1 on the round timer. So this is a pretty significant nerf as well, which is good. The thing is just way too good. So now it's hard to pull off, but it's still gonna be powerful when we hit.
Sticks and Stones is disabled, or at least it's supposed to be. From my PBE testing, this might not be true. It ends up not being true. Oops, but it's meant to be disabled. Cool. On the prismatic side, and you're going to see a lot of these changes, by the way, but we went through and like some of the trait-specific augments that needed buffed get better champions now, and some that needed nerfed get worse. So I'm going to go through these real quick here. Arcanist Crown goes from Lux to Zoe. That's meant to be a buff.
That's really good.
Fortune Crown goes from Sunfire and Teemo to Giant Slayer and Tristana.
Wait, he just skipped at what cost being tempered. He's probably going to talk about it a little bit. Never mind, I'll wait for that afterwards.
Makes it much easier to play, as you can just get a Kobuko and be good to go. Ghostly Crown goes from Bramble and Shen to Gargoyle and Alawi. Sage Crown goes from Zyra to Diana. Sniper Crown goes from Senna to Aphelios. Warden Crown goes from Nar to Amumu. Again, all of those meant to be buffs. On the nerf side, Storyweaver Crown goes from Gargoyle and Riven to Protector's Vow and Garen. Again, meant to be a nerf.
Wow, that's a big time nerf.
Other prismatic augments.
Okay. So let me walk through them one by one. So this Zoe, Zoe's a better unit than Lux in general, and it's a Storyweaver link, and it's a Fortune link. Not that that is often why you take Arcanist Crown, but you can think about that. Fortune Crown, the reason why this is a big deal is because Sunfire is good early, and by the time you're cashing out with Fortune, you don't really care that much about Sunfire. And so that's like one thing. The second thing is that it gives you a 3 cost as opposed to a 2 cost, so you're more likely to hit 5 Fortune earlier because it's giving you a Tristana. And then the third thing about it is, why are we buffing Fortune? I feel like Fortune is already pretty good. I guess maybe they're just helping the noobs get Fortune Crown to help them a little bit, but like Fortune Crown's already pretty good. I feel like it was balanced by the fact that it didn't give you that good of an item. But man, yeah, we'll see. I didn't think this is necessary, but the data behind Fortune Crown is awful. I know why. The data behind Fortune Crown is awful, but like obviously it's one of those things where like from the higher elo perspective, Mortdog's not talking about me guys when he's talking about Bar. He's talking about you guys. But from a perspective of playing at the higher elos, I'm pretty sure this wasn't necessary. Ghostly Crown. got buffed, which is interesting because this would imply that Ghostly Crown is not good. But that's probably because I think Bramble sucks. And all of a sudden, this start sounds potentially pretty good. Bramble is really bad of an item. I'm pretty sure if Ghostly Crown gave you literally any other item besides Bramble, it would be better. So I think that's part of why it performed so poorly. But I'm surprised that they buffed this. I guess also Ghostly got nerfed, so the adjustment there is probably net neutral. We'll see. Sage Crown, they give you Diana instead. Okay, Diana got buffed. That's better. Cyber Crown gives you Aphelios. Ash got buffed already. So the thing about these crowns is it's all relative to the expected power level that you can hit. That's relative to a Prismatic. And so like when you hit Ghostly Crown, you're thinking 6 Ghostly. If you're hitting Sage Crown, you're thinking like how good is Morgana and 5 Sages. When you're playing Sniper, you're thinking how good is Ash plus all the stuff. So it's like one of those things where they're buffing this, but they're also buffing the other units related to it, like Morgana and Ash. So that's part of the reason why these perform badly. They're directly linked to the champions themselves. Just food for thought. A lot of you already know this, but this is good and this is fine.
At what cost has been temporarily disabled? Funny story here. We had a nerf for it because early data was showing it too strong before our Loke changes. Then the data showed it was actually low elo good and high elo terrible.
Yep.
So basically, in order to get it, we didn't want to ship a nerf to an augment that's bad. So we're just going to disable it for now. It'll be back next patch with the proper balance. Build a...
What? Is Mort here? Did he clarify actually at all? Were anybody of you watching this live? What does Mort talk about? Where's low elo defined right now? Just out of curiosity, because the set's new. So where is low elo in terms of like obviously there's a percentage, right? It's a percentage of the player base, but where is it defined right now? That's what I want to know. Low elo is Frodan or lower.
Man, I'm getting Mortdog again.
Man, Mortdog, you're kind of mean.
The Bud ended up a little weak, so it gets more gold. And then 2 for 1, one of the best 2-1 augments in the game right now, probably close to the best. We're now only going to offer it on 3-2. That should be a bit of a nerf. If it's still too strong at 3-2, we'll change it.
Oh, 2 for 1 got changed.
This felt like the correct nerf for now.
Okay, sorry. I got covered a little bit.
So you have to wait until 3-2 to consider taking it.
That's a good change. This augment is way too good at 2-1. Way too good. I mean, it is single hand. Like, if you looked at a lot of our guides for what you should be playing, almost all of them for reroll, it's like almost all of them just like always pick 2 for 1. Yeah, 3-2 makes it way less good. It gives you just that many fewer rounds to collect up. Good change.
All right, gold. We have 2 pages of gold augments.
Wow.
I'm going to run through these fast. Arcanist Crest, buffed from Lux to Zoe. Behemoth Crest, buffed from Malphite to Thresh. Bruiser Crest, buffed from Aatrox to Tahm Kench.
Okay.
Call to Adventure, buffed from Garen and Sivir to Garen and Riven.
Okay.
Dragonlord Crest, buffed from Janna to Diana.
Right.
Enter the Dragon, buffed from Janna to Janna and Diana. That's a big buff for that augment.
Wow.
Fortune Crest, buffed from Teemo to Tristana. Haunted House, buffed from Caitlyn and Shen to Aatrox and Riven. That's also a Aatrox and Riven. I think that's Aatrox and Shen.
Yeah. Why is Riven given
Mind
that?
Over Matter, buffed from Ari to Zoe. Porcelain Crest, buffed from Lux to Amumu. Raid Boss, buffed from Cho and Malphite to Malphite and Yorick. So a lot of champion buffs there.
So again, just to reiterate the same exact thing, like for example, Mind Over Matter buffing Ari to Zori is huge. It's 1, 2, or 3 cost. Not so it's like already. It's not just Zoe being the power level, but let's say you ever need to make it. It's just like a lot of you have a lot more gold in your economy now as well. So it's like giving you 2 more gold. And then also that they buffed Arcanist. So it's like one of those things where like just pay attention to it. They're like not only buffing the trait, but they're buffing the augments that can make that trait even better than usual.
And then going back on the other things here, we have new hero augments.
Oh.
So you'll notice Drop Blossom, Ethereal Blades, and Midnight Siphon now have a plus version.
Okay.
The plus version, if it shows up at 3-2, will give you the 2-star champion already. So Drop Blossom on 2-1 gives you a Nico. Drop Blossom Plus on 3-2 gives you a 2-star Nico.
Whoa.
Pretty cool. Might tempt you into playing those a little more.
Oh, yeah.
Midnight Siphon also got a buff.
They brought back headliners. Oh, my God. Chosen's back. What the heck? They just give you a headliner immediately on 3-2. Hey, and who loves Chosen? Who loves Chosen? They just give you the 2-star version. Fuck it, why not?
From 20 to 25%, so that augment should be better. Dynamic Duo goes from 10 to 15 gold. Everything must go re-enabled. This is the one that says everything in your shop buys and sells for 0 gold.
Oh,
I'm curious to see how this one does in the live meta, but this augment's back. The bugs have been fixed. We'll see. So,
famous last words, man.
And then reinforcements, also a little weak, gets 4 more gold. So sadly, loses the joke here with reinforcement giving 4 gold, but say it.
Nah, what you should have done was it should have given you 4 gold and then 4 gold again. Just for the flavor text. That's a miss from Riot then. Come on, man. Who's even writing these texts?
Gives you 4 gold twice?
Oh, wait.
So,
what?
yeah.
He caught on. He was so close. He was so close.
Sage Crest buffed from Zyra to Diana. Sniper Crest buffed from Senna to Aphelios. Spirit Guardians nerfed from Garen and Jax to Gnar and Amumu. That's a big buff.
Wow. That's a big time buff.
from
What?
Amumu.
They're going from 2 1 cost to a 2 and a 3 cost? What the heck?
Well-fed
I mean, okay,
buff.
I think it's because Spirit Guardians before PBE finished and launched, they nerfed Spirit Guardian, or they nerfed Wardens. Spirit Guardians is, I think, one of the worst performing augments that you can possibly take now. I know, again, data isn't everything. Oh, it literally is the worst. Oh. I mean, right behind Garen in minor matters. So it's a terrible performing augment in the data. Absolutely horrendous. So they're buffing the worst one, but now it's Gnar and Amumu. This has risk of being all of a sudden from pretty mid to, or pretty terrible to being pretty good. Wow. We'll see.
Buffed from Kobuko and Rek'Sai to Kobuko and Aatrox. Again, same kind of pattern. Scoreboard Scrapper is no
Makes
longer
sense.
offered on 3-2.
Like
Won't
that.
bait you into the late game. Garen's Hero Augment gets buffed to do 10% more true damage.
I mean, you saw why.
Cool.
Second
Story
worst.
Weaver Crest gets nerfed because +1 Story Weaver is very good. Now you don't get a ribbon. Vulnerable Piggy Bank. This augment finally gets buffed the way it's supposed to. Now you'll get 2 gold instead of 1 XP from Exalted. So if you can play this, I think it's a pretty fun augment.
All right.
Yeah.
This is a really fun one. I was sad that they nerfed like Exalted and kind of this augment wasn't more playable, because I think Exalted is a really fun thing to play around. It's kind of it gives me built different vibes of just giving you a different kind of challenge, a different kind of game for everybody else. So the fact that this is better now is a good thing. Because what does it do right now? Get 2 Exalted Champion. Your Exalted Soul Core gains gold instead of EXP. If you lose combat, it gains 3 bonus gold. So now it just gives 2 gold instead. Okay.
And then finally, bug fixes. 2 pages of bug fixes. Here we go. Simplified Amumu's ability tooltip, so it's easier to understand. Call to Chaos now no longer says the wrong number for Zeke's and Locket dummies.
True.
So no more getting spammed about that. Gold subscription now properly says it gives you gold every stage in standard and double up. Fielding multiple units with Tactician's Crowns no longer causes some units to lose traits when fighting on away boards.
Dude, this bug was crazy. At one time, I had one time I was playing a Radiant Blessing, the Stimmy portal, where it says if you go to 40 HP or below, you get like a Radiant Blessing. The blessing was 3 Tactician's Crowns, so everyone had +3 to their team, and half of my fights from that point on, my traits just started disabling, like because of this bug. When you have because Tactician's Crowns was disabling my traits, so whenever I teleported away, I would just like lose half my traits, and I was like, "What? This is a crazy bug." I didn't even know that was a thing. So yeah.
The Fated Bond now vanishes when one of the bonded units dies. Quicksilver no longer blocks Zephyr. Tome of Power's damage amp now works.
Oh, that's a big deal. Is that a bug fix? I thought that was intended, but basically Zephyr wouldn't work on Banshees or Quicksilver anymore. I was like, oh, that's great. I don't have to worry about anything anymore. So, I didn't realize this was a bug, or at least they're categorizing it as such. Yeah, Banshees and Silverveil still blocks it right this very moment. So if you're like right now in the game, you're listening to this and you're like, should I build Quicksilver Maybe another reason to do it is your opponent has Zephyr.
On 5 Storyweaver. Fortune now correctly grants the highest tier of cash out if you have enough luck. If you were wondering, nobody's been able to get the 3-star 5 cost or the mystery gift because it just didn't work. That's fixed.
Okay.
Crown Guarded now properly works. Scuttle Puddle and Crabrave now correctly.
Oh, wait, what? It was not working before? Oh, so all it did was just give you a crown guard?
The Stage 10 Rift Herald in Hyper Roll. Boiling Point is now correctly available to be offered when you have the Porcelain trait active instead of when you have the Dragon Lord trait active.
What?
Oops.
Okay.
Stand United now clarifies that only non-unique traits count towards its bonus.
So that means like Hui's Artist or Spirit Walker for Udyr, so on and so forth, don't count for Stand United.
It's going to be Epic is now correctly available to be offered when you have the Mythic trait active instead of when you have 2 or more Mythic units in play.
Okay.
Lucky Ricochet's description now correctly states that it grants a Sivir.
Yeah, this was confusing. I didn't realize that.
Sandra puts Tibbers into a pot. Tibbers will no longer come out as an Annie riding another Annie's shoulders.
Wait, what? I've never seen this before. After Sandra puts Tibbers in a pot, he no longer comes out as Annie riding on another Annie's shoulders. Interesting. That's funny.
Great one. Fine Vintage will no longer be offered when the player has Slammin'.
Makes sense.
Fix some issues with the Fortune Tree. Volibear will keep his current attack target after casting a spell instead of randomly searching for another target in range. Kale will now properly gain extra stage.
So wait, Volibear was resetting his. He was retargeting after casting. Interesting. I didn't know that.
Stats in stage 6+. So very small buff to late game Storyweaver. Unified Resistance will now show its visual effect during planning phase and not during combat phase.
Okay.
Storyweaver augments are now correctly available to be offered when you have the Storyweaver trait active instead of when you have 2 or more. Caretaker's Chosen now correctly grants its early rewards if you take it a higher level.
Ah, so if you guys didn't know, if you let's say you played Bard or something like that, or if you got the augment rearranged and now you're picking your first augment at like 2-5 instead of 2-1. If you pick something like Caretakers, you wouldn't retroactively get those rewards, and so you'd be pretty much like punished. It was a bad augment to be offered at that time. So that's a really good change.
Zaya's ability no longer sometimes fails to ricochet with Trick Shot active.
That's the bug fix.
Udyr no longer permanently grabs units if they're CC immune.
Oh man.
Udyr's Ram Slam now ability correctly deals damage if he grabs a CC immune target.
Okay, so if you guys have never seen this, I'll show it to you real quick. But the other day I tweeted a bug about Yone and Udyr, and it turns out it was a Quicksilver effect. But what happens is Udyr would grab the Yone and then use my Yone to attack my own team. Like, you see this? This Yone is just getting swung back and forth, and he just uses the Yone to kill my own team. What? Anyways, that was what was going on off stream. That rules, actually. I mean, I feel like what they should do is they should make that a future mechanic. Maybe a hero augment for a 5 cost. Wow, that actually would be kind of insane. Like a prismatic one that's only offered at 4-2. You get a hero augment like Udyr, and then when it casts, it like sticks on it. I mean, that's pretty insane. Probably too OP.
There you go. Lots of changes, lots of stuff, lots of buffs and nerfs and bug fixes. It's a big patch.
The big patch.
Hopefully it doesn't swing things too crazy, but you never know. TFT is a fragile game sometimes. So that is it for our first patch. This will be live on Wednesday, so look forward to that. And there you go. 1 patch down, many to go for Inkborn Fables. It'll be great. All right. That's going to do it for me. Until next time, take it easy.
All right. So what do we think?